Give it up.
Hi guys, hi everyone. I'm very happy to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. And unfortunately, I have a slight technical problem. I'm having a very bad case of allergies, so it's hard for me to speak. So we're going to have first time a presentation by a proxy, and this is my buddy in combat, a prominent human rights defender, and the president of Open Dialogue Foundation, Ludmila Kozlovskaya. And she is actually going to present my case and my story. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and I'm happy to speak with you. I'm very sorry that my friend has this attack of allergy, but I want to share you, all of you, you know that anti-money laundering regulation actually used by dictators. You heard probably the stories how it can basically damage life of many people, right? But Bota's case is quite unique. In one person, I will list you just a few brightest examples what exactly anti-money laundering regulation, abuse of anti-money laundering regulation by dictators can do with you in democracies, not far away from here, in Brussels, in Belgium, right? So Bota was nearly kidnapped because of her human rights work. Her banking was terminated. Effectively, she doesn't have banking in Europe because of smear campaign in many languages, because of abuse of important mechanism to get banking information and weaponize it against you, being in Belgium, getting political asylum, but also against your family members living in Kazakhstan, to take your brother as a hostage and torture him, and then going after everyone whom you defend and whom you was defending. So I want to step by step explain you how it works in practice. So first of all, Bota was working with Open Dialogue Foundation, which is a non-profit organization. I'm founder and president of this organization. For already 14 years we are together, right? And beginning of our communication became like many of Bitcoiners actually doing. So we keep in touch with each other with nicknames. She didn't know at the time my name. I didn't know her name because this is what the way how she thought, be protected against persecution of authoritarian regime, because she was a lawyer and my right hand, basically the most important source of information about victims of torture, political killing back in 2008 in city Zhanaozen. So thanks to help of Bota, we won important decisions in UN, basically holding accountable those responsible for mass shooting of peaceful protesters, oil workers in small city Zhanaozen in 2011. And of course, all of this information was until some time closed after we had a case when a mother of 6-year-old daughter and actually wife of prominent Kazakhstani oppositional leader was kidnapped from Italy. And again, there was at that time abused very important tools and abuse of Interpol to prosecute all family members. So Bota became again, as usually, using Skype at the time, calling to get testimonials. So we, as an international human rights group, can bring these testimonials to members of the parliament, to international institutions, and actually speak up how exactly it was possible that with private jet, Kazakhstani diplomats were able to kidnap woman and 6-year-old girl from capital of Italy, in Rome, right? Of course, while Bota was doing this collecting of testimonials, this is what normally she's doing with all politically persecuted people, she was wiretapped. And then immediately the next day, she became the most wanted person in the world by Interpol. You would ask, how it's possible? Interpol, such an important organization, such serious police organization, which unites all member states in the world, all police organizations. How it's possible that regimes so easily abuse it? One simple answer, with abuse of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism regulation. So in case of Bota, this was used private bank in Kazakhstan to basically fabricate criminal cases against her and then use this private bank as a tool, as a weapon by authoritarian regime to go after her everywhere, and even announce her as the most wanted criminal through Interpol. Thanks to actually international campaign, because we were defending other people, we know, of course, how to defend ourselves, right? So if you look back, you would see that we initiated back in 2013 the same year when mother and 6-year-old girl were kidnapped from Italy, we started reform of Interpol. We started to collect case by case how many people in the world actually became a victim of these kind of abuses. Apparently, we get testimonies for over 100 member states in the world that people were persecuted, and the most favorite accusation by dictators was used. Again, anti-money laundering, counter-terrorism regulation. People were accused of being money launderers, extremists, terrorists, just because for one simple reason, because they were criticizing the government. So they were effectively cut off of financial institutions, they were effectively cut off and isolated from societies, being in prison, being tortured, but in most cases when you have political support, then you actually just isolated like financially, and you cannot move, you cannot start your business, you cannot have even driver license. So this is extremely, extremely effective, powerful tool in hands of dictators. But Bota's case proves one more thing, that it's a tool for transnational repression. So even if you leave the country, and Bota was at that time when she was defending Alma and her daughter in Brussels. So she actually got these testimonials in Brussels, and she was announced being like biggest criminal by Interpol, being in Brussels, and had political asylum. So Bota's case and many other similar to these cases became a ground how to reform Interpol. And this is one of examples why we believe that education of regulators exposing these kind of violations, it's very effective. Because you can even change such dragon like Interpol if you just bring your arguments, you do it jointly from many angles, and you make this truth known as loud as possible. So the story of Alma gets successful. Alma, unbelievably, together with her 6-year-old child, get back to Italy after 6 months. And they got political asylum, and then even Bota achieved accountability mechanism for those who kidnapped these family members from Italy. Do you think regimes are going to just allow you to operate afterwards? No, of course they will basically try to have revenge. So what's the next step? Try to guess. They tried to kidnap Bota from Belgium. And she was lucky because Belgian police took her case very seriously. And it actually was, in this case, anti-extremist unit in Belgian police. And they actually found those people who, on behalf of Kazakhstani regime, 2 former Stasi agent and 1 Russian, were going after Bota, trying to kidnap you or turn into vegetable. So now these people sentenced. Do you think Kazakhstan stopped to prosecute Bota? No. Try guess what next. Okay, I will tell you. So why don't accuse Bota that she basically stolen $500,000? Sorry, 500 billion. I'm just sorry. My math doesn't work. Even my mind doesn't process this amount. So I think Bota looks like, right? She's like looks like a person who kind of can. Why not? I mean, if regime accused, they use private bank, they send like kind of, I don't know, a car or minivan of documents, so judges try to understand, oh my God, this lady is so dangerous. She probably did it, no? Okay, you need to spend...
Just to clarify, they accused me in doing money laundering of €500 million on the territory of Belgium.
Without
That's the scope. That's the scope.
Yeah, and just to remind, Bota doesn't have a bank account because she was under attack of smear campaign. She was going bank after bank because every time she's under attack, her banking data was weaponized. So she spent over 6 years to prove that she's absolutely innocent. She got this decision, but you know, still there is problems with bank because apparently bank gave her data to Kazakhstan. Try guess what they done. They actually took her brother as a hostage. Actually, was one news how Kazakh agents tried to kidnap Bota and how she won also.
Yeah, this is how how it's the articles after those people were arrested and sentenced in Belgium.
Yeah. And one of the worst, I would say, consequences, how anti-money laundering regulation can be abused by regime. So being unsuccessful on prosecuting Bota, being unsuccessful to try to kidnap her, to destroy her reputation, and so on, they just took as a hostage her brother. They forced her brother, say like, okay, we're going to release you if you bring your sister back to Kazakhstan, and force her to cooperate with us. If not, we're going to torture you. And during this negotiation, they already tortured him severely. We were not able to get access to him for 2 months. So family members were not aware about his health condition, where is he for over 2 months. So of course, we started to do the same what we're doing for every activist, for everyone who is financially excluded, who is actually taken as a hostage. You see on the photos family members, parents of Bota and Iskander who were going into protest to defend their children. And even them also became a victim of persecution. This shows insanely effectiveness of anti-money laundering counterterrorism regulation in the hands of dictators. They feel absolutely total lack of accountability and extreme power abusing it. And this is the reason why we think it's so important to highlight this kind of cases and to reform financial action task forces, especially their recommendations, which so heavily abused by dictators. So thanks to international cooperation and international pressure, public advocacy, and this is the reason again why we think that it's possible to bring changes, Iskander was released. He was released, and right now he lives in Switzerland with his family. And this is example when you care, when you bring these kind of cases on international level, you win. And this is the reason why we so believe in public advocacy and education of politicians. Because normally, when you say, like anti-money laundering counterterrorism regulation in front of politicians or journalists, they run away because they think, oh my God, it's so serious. Just the same reaction like it used to be with Interpol. But it's not anymore. It's not anymore because we need to make these cases of abuses as vocal as possible.
Just kind of to illustrate that how Kazakhstan was using the allegations that I was a money launderer. The ambassador of Kazakhstan in Belgium sent personal email to every member of European Parliament saying that they should never meet with me, and because I am a criminal and I'm being investigated for committing money laundering in Belgium, and my brother is a criminal who is accused for money laundering in Kazakhstan. And this is just an example how propaganda works. But thankfully, that a lot of politicians, a lot of members of the European Parliament, they actually can see from this BS, through this BS, and they understand how regimes can manipulate information, can manipulate even criminal allegations. So despite of those emails, we still had a lot of constructive meetings and were managed to release not only my brother, but also a lot of other political prisoners.
Yes, and of course, just general context, how Kazakhstan is abusing it to right now, right? So time comes, and you see a lot of people basically right now more and more aware about abuses of anti-money laundering regulation, but nothing basically changed. So Bitcoin became as a hope, as an instrument for transaction, peer-to-peer transaction for activists, financially excluded. For example, we have information for over 100,000 of people were politically persecuted on the basis of anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism regulation. It's accusation of extremists, the most favorite accusation in Kazakhstan, or money laundering also. Or right now, even it's a cyber attack. When you criticize the government with proving, for example, in social media, they bought houses, like corrupt policemen or corrupt judges or just officials, that means that you commit cybercrime because you criticize the government, you know? You publish photo, it's cybercrime. So, and it's a reason why you should be de-risked, why your bank account has to be terminated. So we started, of course, to teach people, not only like ourselves, Bota and me, because I was affected with the same persecution. We started not only using Bitcoin for overcoming this persecution in Brussels, in Belgium, but also actually to teach people in Kazakhstan, in Central Asian countries, in Belarus, in Russia, in many other countries, how to overcome with Bitcoin this financial exclusion. And you think Kazakhstani government allowed to do so? No, right now it's one of the most dangerous things to do peer-to-peer transactions in Kazakhstan. So what we try to do every time we meet with developers of Bitcoin and also startups, financial startups, we explain how regime is so sophisticated. It takes 3 to 5 minutes to Kazakhstani authorities to block bank account or any fundraising campaign online of activists. If you use GoFundMe, Patronate, if you use Strike, for example, for donation. So they really, really sophisticated. You cannot say that they are stupid, for example, like some people think that dictators are stupid. No, they are not. They are very sophisticated. And for this reason, for us, any kind of solution, it's a hope. Of course, using exchanges, it also doesn't work, because using exchanges means your data immediately shared with government. And in case of Uzbekistan, we had a very painful experience when people, unfortunately, were tortured and sentenced for many years, again, on a pretext of anti-extremist and anti-terrorism regulation. They got all this data from exchanges, and then it's led to drastic consequences. So what we try to do together with Bota and many other activists you see on the photos, we go institution by institution in democracies, in G7 countries, and say that we use Bitcoin peer-to-peer transactions because this is the only for us tool to be financially included. This is the only tool how to overcome transnational repression when regimes going against of you, not only domestically, but outside of the country. And of course, a lot of regulators, policymakers, they were shocked from this kind of experience. Said, look, girls, we know you for over 15 years, so how it's happened that you started to use Bitcoin, which is only has negative labeling. It's just used by criminals, so it's bad for environment, for energy. And we defend Bitcoin with our testimonials, with proven facts of testimonies from activists from all over the world, that it's actually a human rights tool, that is actually helping the environment, that is actually protecting the security of energy. And right now we see, with all of this rhetoric, that we have to unite forces, you Bitcoiners and us as activists, in one single campaign in defense of Bitcoin. Because since May last year, we were talking about that attack against Bitcoiners, especially developers, Bitcoin miners, peer-to-peer transactions is going to happen. Because on G7 meetings, peer-to-peer transactions with crypto assets assumed and claimed to be threat to financial integrity and security. And we don't want this language, discriminative language, used towards to our freedom technology. And for this reason, we organized a lot of different kind of submissions. We organized events in Council of Europe, uniting 46 member states. We defended proof of work. We collected testimonials of Bitcoin miners from all over the world to show that EU has no right to issue or create methodology for sustainability indicators with discriminative towards to proof of work language. And the same we do on level of US, because if you don't defend mixers, privacy payment instrument, then you lose your chance to resist against dictators. And this is the latest our submission. We see the opportunity for European Union, which actually, unfortunately, right now in a deep energy crisis, and we all affected with this, and we see potential, we see actually hope again in Bitcoin mining. But if we don't change this approach of regulators, policymakers, unfortunately this negative language going to stay here. Last year we succeed to have a majority of European Parliament who was voting in favor of human rights, pro-human rights amendments. For example, recognizing crypto assets as a payment instruments, protecting personal data, protecting vulnerability groups using Bitcoin as a payment and fundraising instrument. Unfortunately, we didn't get support of Bitcoin community enough to protect those politicians who were on side of privacy and financial freedom tools. We need your support so we can educate both on Bitcoin mining, but also both on defense of privacy, payment, instrument, and actually general encryption. If we're not going to be active in this regard, we will lose our freedom tools because these law enforcement agencies, they will go after developers. If we don't have developers, if we don't defend developers, we lose in actually entire networks. The same, if you don't defend Bitcoin miners, we lose entire network. And of course, it's going to affect us as end users and human rights defenders, but also is going to affect investors and anyone who wants to develop ecosystem. So thank you very much, and happy to answer questions.